Welcome everyone to our product launch of ACCelerate. Really excited to do this webinar today. For those of you who haven't been on webinars with me in the past, my name is Vince Danielli. I am our construction team manager here at IMAGINiT. Been with the company for over 15 years, based out of Detroit, Michigan, and part of my role is to help to support consulting and training around the construction solutions. But with that, I've worked very closely with Matt Mason and our development team to create new tools and utilities to help to support some of the more frustrating tasks or things that maybe Autodesk does not support out of the box with their Construction Cloud solution. So with that, I'll just share an agenda really quickly. Pretty brief on the slides. I want to make sure we can really highlight the key features in ACCelerate during a live product demo. But I will kind of go over the main points within the next slide, then we'll go into this live product demo. We'll discuss the licensing that we've created for ACCelerate, and we'll finish with a Q&A. One thing I will mention is Matt is our lead developer for the ACCelerate tool. So if you do have questions as I'm going through key features or the live product demo, feel free to use the Q&A panel to ask questions, and Matt will be monitoring that throughout the presentation today. Okay, so initially here we decided to include a number of key features. What led us to developing this tool is a lot of feedback that we would get from our clients. Most of those that were transitioning from other CM tools into the Autodesk Construction Cloud, and they might have been accustomed to or had gotten used to a level of admin control and other solutions that Autodesk simply lacks on the account admin portion to kind of manage users and companies and those sorts of things. So in working with Matt, we discussed what were the main requests that we've heard from customers, and our initial launch here, I think we support the primary ones, and we're continuing to work on developing additional key features for this product. But for this initial release, the main key elements are the ability to bulk upload users and companies, batch user management, ball and court user swap, security audit, project management, and we have built in we call it a beta or a preview of an AI assistant chat agent within our solution. So with all of these items through the live demo portion, I plan on really going through and showing you all of these features within the product. So without further ado, so pretty quick key features slide there, but I will jump into our live product demo. A couple of things just I'd like to mention about this. Matt did a great job of controlling the login. So as long as you have essentially administrator access within your ACC account, and obviously that requires you to have an Autodesk ID, when you go to log into ACCelerate, which is just a web URL, web interface, it will use your Autodesk credentials to log in. In fact, I kind of wanted to show that. So let me just sign out real quick, log in with Autodesk. I already did this earlier, but typically it'll prompt you to choose your login, and then to authorize the application, you simply click allow, and that allows us to pull information from your ACC hub. And again, that does require you to be an account administrator to have access. So we wanted to make sure this tool is really focused on account admins and things that you're responsible for managing as an account admin. And we didn't really, at least at this time, we didn't want to open it up to project administrators or project members. Absolutely, we want to restrict them from having login access or access to ACCelerate. So in the interface, we see on the left side panel, that's really our navigational panel to get to the different tools in ACCelerate. Matt did include a welcome. It has a brief tutorial here, a video, just kind of walk through the tools like I'm going to do today. And then there is also an account setup guide. So once we, and I'll talk about the licensing later, but essentially once you've subscribed to IMAGINiT ACCelerate, all you have to do is go to this URL, log in with your credentials, and it will show you any of the hubs that you have access to. And then there's a little bit of instruction there on the authorization. So one thing we do require in the setup, and this is very simple, but if you do decide that you want to subscribe to ACCelerate, we can absolutely help you in a live session to get ACCelerate set up for you. But in the ACC account, if you go to your custom integrations, there are just a couple of keys that we have to put in there in order to enable that connection to your account. So once you have the custom integration installed, then we'll be able to pull information from your ACC account for you to manage it through ACCelerate. All right. So I'll start from the top. I'll just kind of go through all of the tools in order, starting with the user management. So under user management, we have the ability to both export your current list of users that are in your account. So it basically does a full report of the users and some of the data points that are associated to those users. I'll show you an example in a moment. But then we also have the ability to do a bulk import for users. We have an Excel spreadsheet that's formatted where you'll fill out different fields. And I have a couple of examples. You probably would want to see this in action, to prove that this works. So I've kind of canned a couple of examples for this product demonstration. But the first one here, export users, will simply do an export of all of the users in your account, which I think I already, let's see. So we set up a separate hub for this. Our IMAGINiT ACC hub has been active for several years. It's got thousands of users and projects in it, so it's just kind of messy. But for this demonstration, I wanted to simplify these lists so it's not super overwhelming until we get into the projects. But this is a hub that we had set up. This is the export user format. So it kicks it over to an Excel spreadsheet like this. And it will show you pretty much all of the data that's associated to those members within the account. So if they're an active project member, if they've been added but they haven't been invited to projects, or if they're pending acceptance to a project invitation. So your typical stuff that you would see in the members directory in ACC. We also have their Autodesk. So everyone has an Autodesk ID when they sign in with Autodesk or create an Autodesk profile. So we're reporting that, what their role is in the account, etc. So I'll let you look at this. All the information is pretty straightforward. If they do have an image associated to their profile, we have the URL for that, which when I get into the chat portion, kind of show that how it kind of queries that information. But other than that, things that are pretty typical, their number from their profile, their city, all of that kind of user information is listed. Yep, and then maybe more importantly for two areas. So if you're aware of the Autodesk IDs, we have the ability to enter our own profile company within our Autodesk ID, but then in the account, as an admin, you have the ability to assign a company from your account to that user. So that's the difference between those two data points. Company name is reporting the one that you've assigned to or you've added to that user when you added them to the account. So nothing too crazy with the export. We're just clearing the data that exists within the account. For import users, we really like this one. We've had tons of requests for people coming from other systems to basically take their existing directory of internal and external users and do a bulk upload into their ACC hub of all of those users. So in order to support that, I think in the best way possible, we have created this import template. So throughout ACCelerate, whether it's users, companies, projects, we have predefined these spreadsheets. One really nice thing about the spreadsheet is it's not stock or it's not the same for everyone. When you download the import template for your users, it's going to create a custom import template every time you click that based on information from your account. I'll explain that in a second here. So I just downloaded that template. It has some key input information. So you want to put the email of the user that you want to add to your account. It does allow you to fill out some of the profile information for that user. So if the user doesn't already have an Autodesk ID, if they've never logged into an Autodesk product before, they will get an invitation based on this request to add them to your account. And if they don't have an Autodesk ID, it will prompt them to create one, in which it will pre-populate or autofill the fields for their profile based on this information that you enter in here. If they already have an Autodesk ID, then really what we put in here doesn't populate anything. It will just use the information from their Autodesk ID once they're added to the account. So that's sort of, they're tied to their Autodesk profile. But some pretty cool things, and the reason I wanted to download this live and show you this spreadsheet is when we have the items like company and default role, those are dependent on the companies that you have in your ACC hub and the roles that you have in your ACC hub. When we create this import template, this import spreadsheet, we're populating a second workbook in the Excel file that gives us all of those lookups for things like the role names and the company names. All of this stuff over to the right is just location based. So if you're filling out the country that they're located, it will give us lists for all of the cities or states, states within those countries or provinces, etc. So, but the important part here is we're querying and we're pulling the existing company names and role names. So when you're doing a bulk import of users, this gives you the ability in one place to choose the company of the user, pick the role that already exists within your account, and then you can use just general spreadsheet stuff, to kind of drag these lists down. Obviously, you'd probably copy and paste from a different directory their email, but this is really helpful. It can be kind of cumbersome if you're trying to do this natively in Autodesk to add a whole bunch of users to the account at once, especially if you're altering their roles or assigning different company users to the account. So in order to show this, I have pre-populated a couple of things and maybe one list of, here we go. So these are some users on my team that have not been added to our test hub. So I just pre-populated their emails there, filled in their country, but I'll show you here that when we go into company, I'll set one to IMAGINiT, one to our test project role, one to Bolt Electric, and let's just do the last two to IMAGINiT. And I'm going to set their roles based on the existing roles. I purposely added some external roles to this test hub that we've created to demonstrate that we are able to pick from custom created roles, not just the stock ones or the ones that might exist when you first activate your ACC account. So we'll go there and document manager. All right. I'll leave the rest of this blank. All of these users already have Autodesk IDs, so it won't impact any of this information. But as soon as I save that import, so launch, get back to Accelerate. All we have to do from the import user dialog here is choose the file, pick the file that I just updated. I did mean to put myself in there. We do have this option. If we're adding an email that already exists in the account, we can choose to skip that. So if you're putting in a bulk list and you didn't realize someone was already added to the account, you can click this checkbox and it will not modify any of their roles or companies. If not, it will change them. So you can modify their existing roles if you're, roles or companies through that spreadsheet if you desire. All right. So start the import. This generally launches fairly quickly. So in this screen, we're just waiting for our script to start. And I should show you here as it's doing that. I'll bounce over to my account. And currently, these are the only account members within this IMAGINiT Test Projects account. There it goes, it's launching it. And once it launches, this really only takes a couple of seconds. If I go back to my ACC account and do a quick refresh, we should magically see, there they are. So the additional users, Shane, Ramsey, Melissa, Lance, and Kane were added. You can see that the role that I input is updated and their companies are populated based on what I entered in the spreadsheet as well. So very cool there. You will notice that initially they don't have any access level, but now that they're added to the account, as soon as we create a new project and go to add that user to the project, it will populate that as a project member. We have taken on some suggestions if we wanted to add or promote someone with a higher access level to add them as an account admin or an executive, options there. But initially we felt like, at least on the secure side of it, we wanted to kind of restrict this to building out your directory, and then from project to project, you can determine whether that user is an admin or a member within the project. And honestly, if you've set your roles up properly, where say Pulse Manager has default access level in a project as a project admin, as soon as Melissa is added to a project, it will grant her that access based on the role permission. All right, similar idea. I won't go through the whole demo process for exporting and importing companies, but essentially we have the same thing. When we go to export companies, it does give us, I think I did this, maybe not, see if I have, but it gives us a report of all of the companies that exist within our ACC hub. And then we do have the option to import companies as well. Very similar here where we have an import spreadsheet. Actually do think I populated one of these. So here's our import template. We can save that and take a quick look at a blank one. So very similar format. This does have some lookups on the different trades from the system. So again, if we add additional trades or additional information that we want to populate to the company, we have this drop down. I always forget to click enable editing, but that will give us that lookup list from that second workbook. So fill out the company name and trade. Really all of this other stuff is not, they are not required fields unless you want to enter in their address, website, etc. I do believe I did pre-populate import companies. There we go. So just really quickly, I just threw in 3 companies here, different trades. I will save this and then do the same thing, just launch this routine for adding the companies. So I'll start my import. I should have done this before users, because then I would have shown you that the template for the user list will update based on the newly added companies, and we could choose those companies to add them to the new users when we're doing a bulk import. All right. Again, takes a moment to launch. You can move away from this screen as the job is running. One thing that Matt built into the solution is a jobs area. So anytime if we want to come back and see if a job completely or successfully ran, we can exit or get away from that page as it's running, and it does create a log of all of the jobs that you are running on this account. So I just did the import users, now I'm doing import companies. If I wanted to get back to that log, that successful log where I added the 5 users, we can go back to that and it will give us that report. Okay. We'll let that run in the background. I can jump back to the project once it's finished and show that those companies were added. But probably the most intriguing, or one of the biggest requests that we got in developing this tool, is in this project users area. So for admins, when you're managing your ACC projects, if you have a certain user that you need to add to 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 projects in your account, if you have to do that manually, it's going to take forever. Autodesk doesn't give us an out-of-the-box mechanism to add a user to multiple projects all at once. but our utility does open up that capability. So in the add and modify, here's our current environment, including those users that I've just added to my account. A couple of key things I like to point out in this initial screen. So what I'm doing here is I need to choose the user or users that I want to add to my projects. And all we have to do is hit a checkbox next to them to select the user. But one really nice thing here is we do have a search bar at the top. Now, sure, this project or this account doesn't have many users. There's 13 users in this account. But with the search bar, we can search for things like their actual name or their company. So if I wanted to query or find everyone that I added from Bolt Electric, I search for Bolt. It filters my list down to just Melissa. If I search for IMAGINiT, it will find all of the IMAGINiT users, and then I can do a bulk select all of those 10 users all at once. Once you have your users selected that you want to add to your projects, let me see. I'm going to uncheck a few of these. We'll just include the new folks that I added and get Brian out of there. Matt, we'll uncheck you. So Lance, Ramsey, Shane, okay, and myself. On the next screen, this will give you a list of all of the projects that are in your account, active projects that are in your account. So I can do a select all. Again, we can use the search to search by project type, project names, project number to filter this list down. Once we've selected the projects that we want to add these users to, so I've got a bunch of, I was doing a test on submittal numbering, so I created some test projects. I'll just select all of them. So we've got 9 projects in this test project hub that we've created. I'll select all of them, go to the next screen. From here, we can now pick and choose what type of role we want to add to those users. And if they have a default role from the account, we can just pick that checkbox to assign that. This does prompt that the user already exists in this project, which I know for a fact that I'm probably a member of all but one that Matt just created earlier today. So this is saying, hey, if the user exists and has a different role assigned, do not remove those roles that that user has. If we did want to include additional roles, if I wanted to assign everyone with an additional role like superintendent, when I add them to the project, we can pick additional roles to add them at this point. And then on the right side here where we have assigned products, this is where we can choose, hey, do we want those users to be admins or do we want them to inherit that permission from their role? So just keep that unchecked. And which products do we want to give them access to? So in bulk, if I say, hey, all of these people, I want them to have access to Autodesk Build and Cost Management, I can click those 2 checkboxes, go to next. It gives us a quick preview. Here are the 4 users that I'm going to be adding to these, whatever it was, 9 projects. And these are the other inputs that we selected in the previous screen. So when we go to start, again, this might take a moment to kick off. But once it does that, it will run through the script, add those users to the project. Let me see, here we go. Adding 4 users to 9 projects, and this takes 10 seconds. I really like this one. We actually have provided access to a couple of clients that initially requested us to develop this tool, and it came up last week where one of the clients I'm working with, they needed to add a service account to something like 300 projects, and we were able to do that through ACCelerate in a matter of seconds, where again it would have taken probably a half day or many hours of work to manually go into each of those ACC projects and add that user to the account. In that case, it was for integration, so they had to have an integration service user added to all of the projects. That job is complete. Now, if we hop over back to our ACC account, we'll be able to go into, I'll just pick one of my random submittal projects just to verify. that the users were added. So there they are, Lance, Ramsey, Shane. We can see they were added on today, and the role of superintendent was assigned to them. It looks like I must have overridden their initial, their default role, or I unchecked that or something, but they are added to the project. And if I jumped into any one of these, you would see that they've also been added to those. I already had access to this project, so it did not override my initial Pulse Manager role assignment, but it did add superintendent to my role. I mentioned I kind of use that as an opportunity to talk about how we can add users, but through the same tool, essentially by picking my name and adding an additional role, I modified my existing access in that project. So not only is this great for adding users, but you can also modify the product access, the role that they have within certain projects. So you can do that in bulk across all of your projects, which is really cool. Now I'll do the reverse. So we also have the ability to remove. So if you're working with, say, a subcontractor on the project and they have finished their work, you want to get them out of, the project or projects that they have assignment to. Maybe you just are no longer working with that consultant or contractor. This remove feature is really nice. Again, we can do the same search by company name or email address to search this list. Let's see. I'll go again and IMAGINiT Technology. So even though I just granted my team access to those projects, I'm going to pick Shane, Ramsey, and Lance. Go to my next screen. This should show me a list of the projects that they are members of, that they're included in. So I'll select my entire list of those, go to next. There's my preview. It's going to remove these users from the project. Start that script. And again, within a matter of seconds, it will run through that and remove them from all of those projects. It doesn't at this time. We're not going to remove them from the account directory with this, but it will remove them from the active projects. So we are actually looking into making a feature or function to like permanently remove or remove from the account a user so that they're no longer even a placeholder within your directory. But that's something Matt is actively researching and working on. All right, we'll jump back to this one. It should kick off in a second. There we go. All right, that is done. So I might have picked the user that I didn't initially add to one of those projects. I'm getting a few errors there, but let's go back here, refresh. Yeah, I must not have picked Ramsey or something, but you can see and remove the other users that I did select from that. Cool. This ball and court, I'll just describe this one. We don't really have any active workflows set up within the test environment, but the ball and court option allows us to swap users that have a ball and court assignment to a few of the different specific tools within Autodesk Build that have workflows built into them. So a good example of this is if someone goes on vacation or they get removed from the project, you're moving them to a different project team, and you just need to swap out all of their ball and court responsibilities, all of the open objects that they have ball and court assignment to, then you can use this tool to do that swap. So the first screen, we just pick the user that we want to swap out. So in this case, I'll pick Kane. This will probably fail on this test project because, again, I did not assign Kane or anyone as a reviewer to an RFI, but I can pick Kane, swap him out with Lance. And then this screen here should show us, projects. So because they don't have ball and court assignment to any projects, it gives me a blank. Let me switch over to our main ACC hub here. And, I've never done that in the middle of a process, but okay, it just pushed me back to step one. I'll do that same item. I'll search for Kane. All right, we even kept him checked even though we were in different hubs. Great. And Lance. So we'll search for Lance. Awesome. Already had them selected. So from here, it's going to give us or report a list of all of the projects that Kane has some form of ball and court assignment to within these projects. If I know that Kane is moving off of, let me pick, let's go this project here. We'll pick a couple just to make sure we get some success. Now we have the option to choose which tools. So currently we support, if they are an editor of or an inputter of a form, we can swap them out with a different user. If they've been assigned to an issue, we can swap them out through the issue tool, as well as RFIs. So if they're a reviewer, coordinator, or manager within the RFI, we're able to swap that user's permissions out with another. And then for submittals, there are some limitations for this. I believe we can currently only swap out submittal managers because it is not, reviewer is not a defined workflow role within submittals. So we don't have the API to grab someone that might be in a review state of a submittal because technically that workflow role doesn't exist. So I believe right now, Matt can correct me in the chat or something if I'm wrong here, but I believe right now our ball and court swap for submittals is restricted to those that are assigned as a submittal manager. So I'll go ahead and check all 4 just to make sure something Kane is assigned to one of those things. And when we start that routine, again, it's just going to swap Kane out. So it looked like a couple of open forms, a couple of open issues, and now it's kind of reviewing all of these submittals, and this can take a long time, especially we've got 818 submittals. Let's see, 0 should be reassigned. Cool, and it's just running through that routine, giving us a nice log here of everything that the script is doing, and it looks like there were 409 open issues in the projects, 1 that should be reassigned. So there we go, successful reassignments, 1, failed 0. I don't know, I'd have to jump back into our hub to see which project actually swapped out, but that's the intent of that ball and court tool. Realize on time check here, we're over a half hour in, so I'm going to go through the last few things fairly quickly so we can have a good Q&A segment. But let me go back into our test hub, test projects hub. There we go. Security audit is a tool that was requested for us to build. I won't go through. It takes a little bit of time to actually process and create an output of security audit, and we don't have some great template standards in either of our IMAGINiT accounts to test against folder structure and assignments properly. So I don't have a great example to show the output of our security audit tool, but the functionality behind this is if we're running a number of projects in our account, hundreds of projects, and we have those projects were created from different project templates. What the security audit tool gives us the ability to do is take an existing project or projects, multiple, and we can choose to document everything within that project. So it basically gives you a full list of the folder structure, the role-based and user and company-based permissions assigned to folders, the different role permissions assigned to RFIs, submittals, etc. And it just documents those in a report. The other option that we have is to report differences between the selected projects and the template that they were created from. So this type of audit will show you if your project admins are deviating off of your standard, assigning people, maybe external people to folders or giving them roles that they should not have. That's what the security audit tool will do. I'll go ahead and start this run. We'll let it run in the background. Again, my output's probably going to be really crummy because we really don't have great demo standards set up in one of our projects to check against a production kind of level of project. But this will, once it's done running, it will populate in this area up here, a download to that audit report, and that will give you those key points where you've deviated from permissions on certain folders. It will tell you what role was added to a folder, what level of permission has been added to that role. So anything that modifies from the project template will be recorded in a spreadsheet report that you can download. We did have a request from a client that we gave early access to that, they might have created a project from a template that was 2 years, maybe updated 2 years ago, or the project is 2 years down the road and they've updated a bunch of template standards. Matt is going to, or looking into, it sounds like we have everything we need to be able to compare an existing project against a new project standard or new template standard. So even if the project was created a couple of years ago and you wanted to kind of audit it against your newer standard, we will have that capability coming soon. So there we go, there's the output. Again, this report here against our template, I didn't do anything in the template standards for that submittal project. So it's just going to give us probably some general, it's not showing anything here because I did not deviate from any of my template standards, but it is giving us some information on the members in that project if they're active. Let's see, showing me that I picked those 3 projects, and let's go to enable editing. So definitely we'd have better examples on an actual client account to show that things have deviated from these different standards. So this project tool roles will show you anything that changed from like form template permissions, RFI permissions, issues, etc. All right, getting into project management, we've got a couple of tools here to export and import our projects. So we can export an active project list, which I have a sample from our main ACC hub that has hundreds of projects that I can show you. But then just like users and companies, we also have an import mechanism to create new projects. So I'll just briefly show you what the export looks like. So here is one from our I'll call it our main IMAGINiT ACC hub. Again, hundreds of projects. Some projects were BIM 360 projects, some were ACC projects, some projects are archived, some are active. So the nice thing about this export, if you want to get a running list based on project types or what platform they're on, if they're archived, if they're active, you can run this export and it will give you a report of all of the existing project information. Then within Excel, you can do things like filter based on project status, what platform it was created on. Oops. Got to click OK. And again, you can filter by the type of project it is, what template it was created from. We found this glitch just today. This should report what template that project was initially created from. So we should have that bug. Actually, I think Matt already fixed it. I just hadn't had time to run a new project report. And beyond that, if you have to do a bulk creation of projects, so a lot of times especially when we're working with owner developer types of clients and they have existing job sites, maybe it's in a SharePoint environment or some other tool, and they want to recreate all of those projects within the Autodesk Construction Cloud, that would be a good use of doing a bulk project creation. And I have pre-canned, let's see, import projects. So I just created a very simple import, kind of populated this first row with more project information. But you can see very similar to our other import templates or import spreadsheets. We have all of the lookup tables based on your account information that get pushed into the import template. And then you can just use these fields. Really all that's required for project creation are the areas that are highlighted in yellow. So you just have to input. I know that in ACC, project value is not required and currency is not required, but it is a API requirement. And if you were to create a BIM 360 project, it's a required value. So those are required for us to push these via API. You could always put in $0 if you didn't want to input a project value. But then in the types of projects, it's going to give us a list of all of the different project types that exist that we can pick from. Let's go ahead and save that. Start my import for projects and whoops, choose a file first. Start that. And again, just to prove that this is actually working, I will go back to account admin in my test environment. You can see here that we only have 10 total projects. Go into the script. Once the script is complete, it's going to create the projects. I should have mentioned also one of the fields that I did fill out in the, where is that? Import projects. This will list out your existing project templates also. So one of the lookups, you can assign the project template that you want the project to be created from. I only assigned a template to my first row here. I just used the ACCelerate template that I created, and that's taking a little bit longer to run. So let that again cook in the background. Oh, it's just, of course, it started immediately when I jumped off of it, but there we go. Successfully added five projects. I'll jump back to my ACC test environment in a moment. But finally, really the last item that I haven't covered besides the chat agent is the archive and restore. I know just in managing our hub, it can be a pain to go through all of the projects and do kind of a bulk archive. You have to click each individual project from your directory and then click the archive button. And then, are you sure you want to archive? Yes. So there's a lot of clicks involved in just archiving a single project at a time. What this tool allows us to do is either do a bulk archive or a bulk restore projects. So pretty self-explanatory here. If I want to archive all of these submittal numbering projects that I have in my test environment, just select those, run this job. That one runs really quick. And now let me do a quick refresh on my test project environment. There we go. There's the test projects that I just created with the create routine, and we are not seeing the submittal projects because now they are archived. So things that take you, just kind of frustrating things that take a lot of clicks and a lot of time. Our goal for this tool was to really tackle some of those more menial and mundane admin tasks so that you guys can focus on more important stuff. Not spend 4 hours of time adding users or importing companies, or I shouldn't say importing, adding companies, adding users. And then I will just finish with the AI assistant. So we built this in. It basically is prompted to return information that you query about your account. So if you put in a general message like, what projects are visible to, I'll just use Matt since he's on the call. Our chat agent just gives you some insights and pulls information from the hub that you're connected to. So you can see here, Matt has visibility to 2 of the projects within our test environment. And then Matt showed me this right before our call today. I thought this was interesting. I think it's who is Matt Mason at brand.com. And that type of query will actually return the profile information from that Autodesk user. And that's actually formatted better than the last time I looked. But so general information about the account, who has access to which projects, are they an admin, are they project members, what are their roles? So general queries that you want to make where you don't want to spend the time to actually dig in individually into your projects. You can come to the chat agent, ask, hey, is this person part of one of these projects? Or we have tested this out. It's still in a rough, I wouldn't call it, there's still some things we have to work out with the chat agent. So that's why it's still in a preview mode. But really all of the other tools, if you wanted to say, can you remove Matt Mason from all visible projects? It will then just run the script that we have to do the remove project user automatically through the prompt. So you wouldn't have to go through kind of the clicks that we have up here. You can prompt the chatbot to do that for you. All right, well, I know that was a lot. Hopefully I thoroughly covered all of the tools. From there, I will go ahead and open my PowerPoint back up, of course, from the beginning. You're probably interested in the pricing around this. So we determined, we wanted this to be a pretty accessible price point for all of our clients or new clients that are interested in the Accelerate tools. So we put this at a $19.95 USD price point for yearly subscription. And we are running a promo for those of you early adopters or early subscribers to Accelerate. If you do subscribe before the end of this year, you'll get all of the rest of 2025 and your full subscription to 2026 for that $19.95 price. So essentially you're getting an additional couple of months of access if you decide to purchase anytime between now and the end of the year. So sooner you do it, the better, the more free months of access that you get. But yeah, that's it. And let's see, should mention, we'll manage, we have the SKUs and everything to process this. So once you purchase, we'll reach out to you. We'll get you set up within probably a couple of hours of purchase, so you'll have access to it right away. And then if you did have any questions or wanted to run through tutorials or anything, we have enough people here to support it to answer any questions that you might have about the setup and the access to Accelerate. So with that, thank you all. We will open it up to